Alex works in HIV treatment and prevention.
Go in! Stop down!
He's like crazy mama bear in our clan. I met him when I got my first HIV test.
So y'all pretty tight, huh?
Yeah, I guess we are.
Brandy left. Wade and I had sex.
You let him get your bujanas.
Yes, Alex, I let him get my vagina.
Hey, you got the order all wrong. I need the HIV posters on the wall over here and the STDs on the wall over there.
That's not what you said before.
That's what I'm saying now. I'm really, really sorry.
You think you're sorry now? Wait till I take your man, bitch.
Take my man. He told me to my face, Noah, just like he stood in front of me and sliced open his hand to prevent me from taking Trey out on a date.
Are you sure you're not just being paranoid?
No way.
All right, let's get you over to your husband's house, Garrett.
He's my boyfriend, not my husband. This move is temporary.
Speaking of husbands, shouldn't you be preparing for Trey's homecoming?
Already handled. Got my sexy outfit, candles, music. At 5:30, he gets into LAX. Around about 7:30, he'll be getting into me.
Ew.
Because mankind shall not lie with man as with woman. It's an abomination.
That same chapter also condemns people from eating shellfish. But I bet y'all don't let that stop y'all from stuffing your face full of shrimp at the church fish fry. It's not fair to say this guy wouldn't like Romeo because he's a queen. A lot of masculine guys like him with a tank full of sugar. Right, Pookie?
That's right, baby.
And I have the pleasure of speaking with dancing, TV film pioneer and legend, Rodney Chester. How are you doing?
Hi, Brandon. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Really good.
You hanging in there?
Hey, listen, I'm just trying to make things happen. You know how that go.
I know that's right.
But you know, I want to say something. I want to say something on camera to you guys.
Oh, yeah, of
I
course.
love what you guys do as far as Gaye Magazine. Love it. And
Thank you.
I really appreciate you guys' platform and how you guys are working through it. Amazing. So keep doing it. And I'm always going to support you guys. Always.
We appreciate that, and we are a huge fan, a huge fan, and supporter of you as well.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that. So let's start this. So when I usually have a discussion with someone, I like to start kind of near the beginning, right? So, we're going to get into the acting of it all, but I feel like a fact that many may not know is your extensive dance background. So I'm going to give them a little context. So, you grew up in Cocoa, Florida. You started dancing, correct me if I'm wrong, you started dancing around sophomore year in high school?
No. I got a band. Well, when I started dancing when I was maybe like 14, somewhere around there, I started taking class. But I got a scholarship at Bethune-Cookman College. Then is now Bethune-Cookman University, a band scholarship because I was in the band. And so that's what led me into getting into the theater program at Bethune-Cookman. And I always wanted to do theater, but the band was what I got a scholarship in. So that's how I kind of started it at the college.
I see. My apologies.
And then I worked my way up to, theater program and all that.
Right. Okay, my apologies. So middle school,
That's okay.
then high school, then band scholarship at Bethune-Cookman. And from what I hear, you graduated with honors as well. And then you moved on to, New York and LA, and you reached a height where you were dancing with legends such as Whitney Houston, Prince, Shaka Khan, Diana Ross, you name it. So can you tell me how was that experience dancing with these legends? And do you think that your dance career, could have reached that exceptional height?
Well, the thing about which is so interesting about that, it's like I have such a long and extensive dance throughout that whole thing before I moved to LA. But basically, short, when I was my first professional job, I was a dancer at Disney World. So I used to do Disney and then college and back and forth in the summers. And once I got a scholarship, then I started pursuing myself into more of the dance theater stuff. So how I ended up in LA, I used to take convention classes from this guy who ran this organization called Tremaine's. And he one day said to me, he knew me. And he says, Rodney, what are you doing? Because I was on a cruise ship. He says, what are you doing when you get off the ship? I basically said, I didn't know. He says, well, if you come to LA, I will put you on scholarship, on a dance scholarship. So I was like, okay. So that's how I got to LA, because when I was on the ship, one of the guys on the ship, he used to go and take class in LA. So I would just ride with him, and then we would go back and get back on the ship. So that's what led me to being in LA, learning the whole thing, and then auditioning. And, a lot of things way before that. I did theater and traveling, but LA was how I ended up, because I wanted to do more. I didn't want to do more Broadway because I did that. So I wanted to move and do more commercial dance, like more videos and tours. So that's when I moved to LA and started working with all those artists. It was amazing.
Yeah,
It was really amazing.
So you got 2 scholarships. You got the band scholarship and you got the dance scholarship.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And so it sounds like you said with Broadway, so did you live in New York before LA, or?
Yeah, I stayed in New York for a short time, and I was kind of going back and forth. And the girl that lived in LA also, I danced with her at Disney, and she told me to come to LA because they're having this audition. That was when I was in New York, and that was for Prince. So I went to the audition, whatever, blah, 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 made it all the way to the end, went back to New York, and then I had to go back to LA because Prince wanted to meet everybody he was interested in. So I met with him, and I went back to New York, and then they called me and said I got the job, and I never went back to New York. I stayed in LA.
You stayed in LA. Okay. How was that experience? Like were you like starstruck? Like, what was that like?
Well, Prince is a nice guy, and this is kind of like a funny story, kind of like, but basically, I when I went to the audition, I knew who I was auditioning for. Prince wasn't there. He didn't come in until like the third callback when he came in. And they were saying, don't look at him, or whatever, and he was really a nice guy. And I remember I went to the restroom and he was in the hallway with me. And then we kind of crossed paths and he was like, hi. I was like, hi. So I was all nervous because of what they told us. Like, don't look at him, just do your job. And actually, it was the music video, Bitch by Golly Wow. If you go back and look at that, I'm in that video. That was the first video I did with him. And then I went on the road after that. So it was for a video and part video and tour. So once I started booking, then I got, went to auditioning and started working with a lot of different people. So, but he was my very first job.
Oh, wow. So it sounded like that led to a snowball effect of getting more and more people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure at that point with, starting from working with Prince, I'm sure at that point it kind of became normalized to like, maybe work, dancing at award shows with these celebrities or, events, music. Stuff
I mean, in honesty, when it came down to, because when I was at Disney, I was always kind of like the token. It was a few black guys, but when I moved to LA, I saw so many beautiful black guys that were dancing, and I know I had to compete. So I had to do different things to understand how to compete. And once I figured out that platform and what that formula was, I started booking. And I never had another job. I worked from job to tours and everything. So I'm not going to say lucky because I was just blessed and doing what I do, but it was definitely a high thing in my career and life. And I just was working because at that time, it was a lot of jobs that was happening for dancers. So I was able to book and continue to book and book and book,
That definitely is a blessing. So you never really had a gap. It was just from one to the next, to the next, to the next.
I never did because I never worked a regular job. I never did. A lot of people was doing like waiting jobs and all that. I guess at that moment, I just knew once I finished one job, I auditioned. I didn't get every job now, but there was a lot of auditions happening. So I was able to, sustain what I was doing. And then once I got a tour, I knew I could save that money.
Right.
Yeah.
And go on. Now, we talk about jobs. So let's talk about kind of going from dancing to acting. So I know you starred in Punks, which is credited as the first black gay rom-com. So I understand you didn't audition as an actor at first. You auditioned as a dancer.
Well, Punk. It was an audition. It was a dance
Oh,
audition,
a
but it was
dance
for
audition.
a drag part. Now, when I did theater, I did La Cage aux Folles, so I knew that drag era because I did it in theater.
Hmm.
But anyway, we had to come dancing as boys first. Then we
Okay.
get to the callback as boys. Then when we had the next callback, we had to come in drag, and
Okay.
that's when Babyface and all them were there. And I auditioned
Hmm.
and I didn't get it originally.
Hmm.
Um, I took Gene Anthony Ray's place. I don't know if you know who he is, but he was a Fame. He was on Fame and all that. He was Debbie Allen's protege,
Oh
and
wow. Okay.
I took his place, and I guess I was first in line, and that's when I first met Patrick.
Wow.
And
So
so when I met Patrick, I worked with Patrick on that project, and then we became friends. And then that's what led into Noah's Ark. Basically, because we was hanging out and he said, "Hey Rodney, I'm gonna do a TV show and I wrote a role for you." And I was like,
hmm.
"Really?" He was like, "Yeah." So I had never done a TV show like that. I just danced and did theater. But
Okay.
he was the first to give me an opportunity to act, and that's what it led from that. But that's how I got Noah's Ark. Actually, Patrick wrote that role for me. I didn't audition for Noah's Ark.
Wow. So it sounds like dancing was kind of like a through line that you started with dancing, then the Punks, and then this whole acting career as well. And
Yeah.
I feel like not matching. You know what I mean?
Say it again.
I said I feel like not many people might not make that connection that dancing was kind of the through line, not so much you just
Well,
started out. Yeah.
but that's why if you look at the a lot of actors like
Hmm.
now, like I
Hmm.
worked with when I did 90 Days, I worked with Denzel Washington's wife, Paulette Washington, who a
Mm.
lot of people don't know, she was a theater actress before Denzel was. And she sort
Mm.
of stopped her career to, take care of the kids and all that. So it's what I'm getting at is most actors, they started in theater or dance or
Hmm.
something like that and moved into
Hmm.
acting. So it was sort of like a natural progression for me to
Hmm.
do that. I just didn't know when or how that was going to happen because I was doing commercials and I was doing, a lot of other things, but I hadn't done anything as far as like a TV show and then being one of the leads, you know.
Right. Could you have ever imagined, like, just starting out with dancing, like that would be your future as a lead in a landmark show?
No, not at all. Because when you do theater,
Okay.
if you do it for the love of the arts, right? So
Hmm.
when I just moved on with my career as it went on, and just kept moving, and I just
Hmm.
progressed and just kept going.
Hmm. And got, yeah. And so we went from dancing then to Punks, then to Noah's Ark. Now, I guess, and now, would you have guessed or not guessed? Basically, I want to know the response to your character. So for me, outside of your character being the funniest to me, definitely was an independent character. I think what was one of the most important parts was Alex was he signified the importance of sexual health education.
Hmm.
And he wasn't judgmental. He was holding people's hands through everything. He was counseling them through everything. And this was before prep. So I think
Yeah.
for me, that was the impact of the character for me because I have a STEM background too. So kind of just seeing that was amazing. So what has been the response to that character? I know you talked about Patrick Ian Polk making that role specifically for you. What was the response to that character during and 20 years later?
Well, I can say this. As far as the character, I think Patrick, when he was creating the characters, he didn't know
Hmm.
what everybody was going to do because at first, my first role was I was going to be a dance teacher. And
Oh, okay.
I
Wow.
thought, oh my God, I'm gonna have to dance every episode and da 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 da. So I was just kind of thinking, but then why he changed it was because the Black AIDS Institute was a huge part of our beginning of the start of Noah's Ark with the pilot and all that. And so Patrick was like, I think that I'm going to make you a HIV and AIDS counselor. So I said, okay, great. So that was my character. So then I had to start investigating and learning more about what that was because, I'm negative or whatever, I'm not judging anyone, but I didn't know. I just knew what it was and what I need to do to stay healthy, right? But I still had to learn the statistics. I even had to learn how to do take blood tests because I had never done that before, and so I had to learn how to do that because that was in one of the episodes. So, to answer your question, the making of all of that was very strategic through Patrick, and he wanted to bring that character to life in another way, in a teaching way, since I was sort of like the mother hen of the group. So that's kind of, I think, where that was a big part of that. So it was my duty, I felt, to know about it, teach about it, and make sure that was a great point in that character, what I was playing. So the magnitude of it, I mean, it's like then it was, obviously we got so many more things now that's happening now. But at the time, it was really just about making it understood that I was a real HIV counselor. That's why I ended up running my own nonprofit, so it was a big part of that.
And with that, with this process of learning, learning how to draw blood, getting experiences from people that are HIV positive, did you kind of continue that work, but in real life?
Yeah, I did actually, because throughout the show, I was always getting booked to do events in that realm, so it made it more effective for me because I always continued to learn, which was a big part of that. But when I would do events, I wanted to make sure that I had all the knowledge of what that really was about. So that was still a part of my work, even though I wasn't on the show. But still, if I was doing an event and they called me, they say, "Oh, Rodney, we want you to come and present or come and speak," I had to know the terminology of what all that meant.
And I'm sure that was like that became a natural progression,
It did actually, yeah. Yeah.
Now I got something funny to tell you. So this is crazy. So this exact date, Gaye Magazine reported about Noah's Reboot from the IM Awards. It was April 23rd of last year. Like this exact date. Isn't that crazy? So I wanted
the exact date is today?
The exact date we reported April 23rd.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
We talked about Noah's. So I wanted to know, what was your reaction to the announcement? What was your feelings towards that, with the cast being there, Patrick, Ian Polk being there? What were you feeling during that moment?
Well, without getting too deep into it, because obviously we can't talk too much about it, but we already knew that the show was returning. We already knew that. But we couldn't say anything. And so when Patrick did make that announcement, we were really all surprised because we did a little, we did like a little group conversation with the public, and Patrick had told us, "Don't mention anything, you guys, about Noah's Ark," because I think he wanted to make that official announcement. So when he made the announcement, I mean, we were happy, but we already knew what was happening with the show. So
okay.
Yeah.
So, and the streets are talking a little bit. I know you can't give too much, but is it a movie? Is it a series?
You know what? I have to tell you, I'm going to give you guys exclusive and just tell you, we did do a movie. We did a new movie. But honestly, all this, because I think that people think that it's not going to happen or whatever. So I just want to clear this with you guys exclusively. We did do a movie. We're just waiting, honestly, for Paramount to make the official announcement of where it's going to be and what's going to happen with the show. But we already did shoot a movie. We did.
Right. Okay. So it's a movie,
Brand new movie, actually. It's a brand new, and it's great. It's really, really great. I think the millennials are gonna love it, and then the old heads, like my friend Keith said, he's one of the old heads. He's gonna love it. So yeah. So that
And
is exclusive for you guys now. Okay.
thank you.
That's just because I love you guys and I love what you're doing. But it really is honestly, I hate that we can't elaborate a little bit on it. But with
I know.
NDAs being signed, and you
I
want to make
understand.
sure that they have complete control because they really are, they called and said they want to do it. So we have to follow the guidelines. But people are now wondering, is it really coming back? Did y'all just say that or whatever? And I mean, it's we can't sorry about that. We can't
You're good.
control that, you know what I mean? But I will tell you, we did do a movie, and the movie is
It's
phenomenal.
all that.
And
It's
I
all of
was
that.
cutting up. All I'm gonna tell you is I was cutting up. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw tweets talking about, from last year with the actors and writers strikes. Like, did they shoot the movie yet? Did they? And I did see Patrick confirm that y'all shot. At the time we didn't know if it was a movie or series.
And that was another thing. That was a holdup because the writers had a strike, and then we had a strike, and
Mm-hmm.
that went on for months. So
Right.
that kind of pushed everything back, because they had to regroup and get all that. So it's a lot that goes into it. A lot of people don't understand that. They just think, okay, well, you said it's coming back. When? And the powers that be have that whole thing,
Right.
So
Okay, so
you
y'all.
guys, you guys got the real tea.
I was just about to say, y'all heard it, exclusive, straight from Rodney's mouth. It will be a movie, so get ready for that. So I understand, y'all can't say anymore, but we'll just leave it
And
at that.
that's pretty much all I can say. But we're just waiting on them to make the official, and then once that happens, I think it's going to be amazing. So
Okay, I cannot wait. I cannot wait. So let's talk about your podcast, My Best Friend Rodney. So I know it delves into your life, your activism, and just like very poignant areas of the LGBTQ plus community. So can you let me know like what led you to creating this podcast?
Well, one of my booking agents, he well, because let me just say this. Well, my booking agent, his name is James.
Yes.
I met him and I did a song which you might be too young. How old are you, Brandon?
I'm
Are you
27, but
are
people
you young? I'm sure you're younger
I'm
than
in, I'm,
me. I'm sure you're younger than me.
I'm in my I'm in my 20s. I'm younger.
Okay. Well, there's this artist. Her name is Barbara Tucker, and a lot of the old heads will know who she is. But she does house music. So anyway, I did a song with her, and that's how I met James. And so James and I started working together along with my management team, and
Mm-hmm.
he brought it to me because he met Dantarius, and
Okay.
Dantarius is great, the publicist, and excuse me, and they came to me with the idea and said, we want to do this, we want to shoot it in Atlanta, da da da. I had never done a podcast before, but
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting to me when they pitched the idea to me because it
Mm-hmm.
was another way for me to reach out to the fans, which I always
Mm-hmm.
love and appreciate. And it was just another way of avenue of getting to know me because you talked to me about my background. A lot of people didn't know that I came from theater and dance and moving and all that. They didn't know that, which is fine. But that was how my career wholly started. So this whole thing of My Best Friend Rodney, it's an amazing platform. I think it's going to be phenomenal. We already shot season 1. We already gathering guests for season 2. I mean, we really are trying to actually do something so that it will kind of overlap with the
Mm-hmm.
move whenever they make the announcement and all
Right.
that,
Right.
so
Mm-hmm.
that it will all be in one sort of thing that I can have something going on along with Noah's Ark as well. So
That's a good parallel, it sounds like.
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
So I love the name My Best Friend Rodney. It gives like, you can tell your best friend Rodney anything, you know what I mean? But I wanted to know what was the significance behind the title.
Well, Dantarius came up with the title,
Okay.
and because basically getting to know Danterius, he wanted to know my whole history, and we talked on the phone for like 2 hours and just went on and on and on. And I guess with me telling him about my career and about everything, it sort of made sense because everyone from that's are fans of mine, they really believe that we are best friends. So
They just feel connected already.
I mean, all connected. So now I connect that with my fans being my best friend. And then I have people that's on my show, my guests. We really are really good friends. So I have amazing lineup the first season. Very excited. And your girl, T.S. Madison, is my first guest.
I was just about to ask, how was it having T.S. Madison as the first guest? I'm sure she set the tone.
She even told me, what I love about T.S. is I was explaining to her how I came about knowing her, what she used to do in the beginning of her career, and where she is now is just phenomenal. And I have followed her through her career and just told her I was a fan. And you might see T.S. Madison anyway, but T.S. Madison and I are good. We are very, very close, good friends. She's a great person. I love her platform. I love what she do. And so she basically, honestly told me that, I'm going to set the tone, Rodney, for you with all that. So I was just like, wow, So when I asked her, she said, yes, of course, Rodney, no problem. And we had a great time. And she did. She really set the tone for all my guests. So she was the first guest, first episode.
And I personally just interviewed T.S. Madison like a couple of weeks ago, and she's like a force. She's a force. I view her as a pioneer, as a genius. She's just a phenomenon, I feel like. I was gonna ask, were you friends with her? It sounds like before, but like, do you guys go way back or?
No, actually, it was just through social media because I had met her a few times because she came to LA, and I met her a few times because she was at this club, and I went up there and met her, and we talked and laughed a little bit, and so it was really all through social media, and just chatting back and forth here and there. And, we were able to stay in contact. And she always said she was a fan of mine. I'm a fan of hers. So it really worked out. And I'm so, so proud of her. Really, I am.
Yeah, she is one of a kind for sure.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of the areas that you delve into with the podcast?
It basically was interviews with people, some very high profile people who are my friends, and we basically indulged in what my thing is. I wanted to have a platform that platform my guests as well. It wasn't just all about me, but I wanted to showcase them as well. So each one was different. But what was so amazing, what we all figured that throughout my podcast with everyone had some kind of social message within our conversation, of some type of blessing type of message. So it was just so phenomenal how it all kind of sealed in together and all kind of coincide. But every interview was different. It was nothing really written down. I had some bullet points here and there, but basically everything was, it was, straight kind of off the top of my dome and just talking as friends. And just finding out about them and more about them and learning what they're doing and what they're about. So it was phenomenal. It's going to be, I think people are going to love it because it was so natural. It was nothing I didn't have a script and all that. So that's what was great about it.
I was about to ask, it sounds like it wasn't like, oh, season 1, we're going to talk about this, you know what I mean? It sounded like it was just a natural conversation. And from there, it's like, okay, they're talking about this. Okay, they're talking about that. Okay, that. And, that will be the theme of each episode. That's what it sounds like.
Well, that was important to me, actually. Of course, you want to have bullet points, of course.
Right. Of
but
course, yeah.
We wanted to be more natural because I think it flows better when you just like you're having a conversation and not so much of like looking at the paper saying, oh, okay, so da da da. No, it was very more of just conversation. So it was great.
Right. For you, I'm sure you delved into your personal life. Was that kind of You seem like an open book, but I'm curious, was that challenging for you, or was it just like?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was challenging because I'm pretty a straight shooter, in real life actually. So, I mean, my story is something to tell, about my growth and where I was and how I progressed in my career. So I was always pretty much open. I don't really too much get into my personal life that much really, but
Okay.
because I just think that if you have something that you want to keep to you, then you
Mhm.
should be able to do that. That's just my
Okay.
whole thing. It's not that I'm trying to hide anything or nothing like that, but it's just, I like to be an activist and more of a platform for doing what I do and making people smile and just having a good time. And actually, that's really my personality. I've always been that way. I've always been kind of like a leader type. And
Mhm.
Patrick's thing to me, when he first told me about the show, honestly, he said, Rodney, people have to see you on TV, your personality. So I give all of that to him for that, for gracing me with that and teaching me, you know.
And real quick, since you referenced that, with your character, would you say it was pretty much like you, or like were you able to like ad lib? Were you able to take more creative control?
Funny you asked that. Patrick is very a stickler about the script. He
Mhm.
likes you to, you know, which is fine. That's his direction. But he did
Right, right.
allow me to go off book a lot, like a lot.
Mhm.
Like I ad libbed a lot. And
Mhm.
because he felt like my character was the one that was able to be able to do that. And I remember
Mhm.
the guys, we would have interviews and talks and stuff, and they would be like, well, Patrick is very hard on us about knowing them lines, but everybody but Rodney. And it was like an
Right.
ongoing joke. But I think that they got it and they understood, it was never no beef or nothing like that, but it was a joking
Mhm.
thing that we had because we know how Patrick was as far as, he didn't play when it came down to them lines. And it's not
Mhm.
that I didn't know my lines, but he just allowed me to embellish,
Just
I'll
have
say.
that creative control, and it felt really organic. Like the bagger, like all that, like it just,
All of that. I mean,
yeah,
it
yeah.
was organic. And the thing about it is, like, I didn't know because Patrick never really would come up to me and say, oh, you did, great job or whatever. But the makeup people, when they would be sitting at the, what they call where the directors go and they move around on the set. And the
Uh-huh.
makeup people would say, Rodney, Patrick was falling out laughing at you. And I had no idea. I just was doing my thing. And if I did
Oh,
something, or sometimes if I would do something, Patrick would say, can you try something else and do like
right,
that or
right.
something like that. But all those words and lingos that I made up and all that stuff. And when I see the housewives and all of them saying them, I'll be
All that.
like,
Mhm.
wow, it's crazy. And I think that's
Mhm.
because they have a friend or a makeup artist or something that know the show and they talk to
Mhm.
them. So I think that's where they get it from. So
And I feel like with your character, of course, but Noah's Ark in general is kind of a bridge to the lingo, to the language, on mainstream. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I feel that too, honestly, because what was so amazing about that is it was supposed to just be we just wanted to make a great show, right? And it was supposed to be about friendships and all that stuff like that as far as Noah's Ark. So that's what led into my best friend. It was always that same kind of tone throughout. And that's what I continued that on my show with my personality. And Alex was written for me. Um,
Mhm.
a lot of it, of course, if a role is written for you, of course, you are a lot of that character. I think Alex might have been a little bit more over the top than what I'm actually,
Right.
but for TV, you have to, you know what I'm saying? You have to
You
release
gotta be
that.
over
So
top. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. So as we wrap up, I want to get a few things out about your podcast. So, what are you most excited about, particularly once it's released?
well, I'm going to be excited. First of all, I'm going to be so excited for everyone to see it first.
Yes.
Secondly, it's just about the connection that I have. Like I said earlier, I wanted it to be a connection that you can really get to know Rodney and what Rodney is about. You know me from Noah's Ark, but this is something different. and I want people to come along with the ride and support it. We all are excited about it. So I think it's going to lead hopefully to season 2, season 3, whatever. And then maybe on TV. I don't know, but we're open book for it. So it's exciting and we're excited about it.
And when can we expect it? Is there a release date?
We're working on editing and stuff like that now. And I know they're going to be doing a press release soon, but it's all coming within the next couple of months. Yep.
Okay. All right.
And then I
Sounds
think
good.
on the show, once we air it, it'll be on once a week.
Once a week. Okay. Once a week.
Yeah. It'll be like 30 to 45 minute show.
Okay.
So I added some surprising elements to it because I wanted mine to be a little different than just a regular podcast. So we find some really, really great stuff. So very excited.
Okay. And what are just last question, what are some like the biggest takeaways you want the listeners of the podcast to like receive?
Because the guests that I chose or that I choose to be on the show, their platforms are so amazing that I wanted it to be a learning. I want it to be a friendship of laughter and fun and just being true to what it is. And once you see the show, you will see exactly what I'm saying with my guests and how my guests were with me and how I was with them. So I just want everyone to take away the fun of it all, because it really is it's a fun project. I'm so excited about it, and I just really can't wait for the public to see it. And by the way, I do have a website as well, rodneychester.com. You guys can always check that out. I dedicated a whole page to the fans.
Okay.
On my website.
Okay. All right.
Chester.
RodneyChester.com. Okay.
Yes.
Overall, it sounds like the podcast is kind of like an extension of you. You mentioned like the fun and the element, and I feel like I'm getting all of that from you right now. So I'm really excited. So y'all be on the lookout. My Best Friend Rodney coming soon. You say it's once a week, and the first season will be.
It's going to be on all platforms. We'll post all of that. Yeah.
All platforms, wherever you get your podcast from. 8 episodes for this season, but we're gonna speak season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5, season 6. Into existence.
When I have supporters like Gaye Magazine, when I have supporters like you guys, it means the world to me and it's so appreciated. So also, once we get going, I want to come back on your show and talk about it.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
I definitely would love to do that too as well.
That's a given. So y'all be on the lookout. First episode with TS, be on the lookout for that as well. And it was really cool listening to getting the full spectrum of your career and just kind of your personality too as a person.
I just think I just love what I do, in all honesty, and I don't perceive to be the best or any of that. It's just I enjoy what I do, and I love the fans for what they come to me and show me love all the time. It's just amazing to be a part of a show. We did Noah's Ark, started it in 2004. So for this show to have this much longevity is amazing. Yeah.
And through your passion, you made history. Through your talent, through your passion. So just know that you are an icon, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, for sure. So it was definitely great talking to you. We definitely will be looking forward to having you the next time. We'll be looking forward to your podcast and everything in between, and the movie too. Thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
But again, you guys keep doing what you're doing, and Keith, phenomenal. I shared that with him, and for him being the editor and this platform, amazing. And again, I'm always going to support you guys, always.
Thank you. Likewise.
Y'all better put me on the cover of a magazine or something.
Maybe.
We don't speak that into existence. It's going to come. It's going to come.